Welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I am your host, Jasmine, and today I have the pleasure to have Judith Sedgeman with us. Hi, Judith.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm very happy that you accepted the offer. To the listeners and the viewers, Judith is like what, we, the 17th generation, call the first generation. Like she learned 3 principles from like the first people who were talking about it. Yeah. And she's been talking about it ever since.
Right.
And so it's interesting I love having these conversations with you guys. I've had Mavis on also.
And Mavis is wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, we have great conversations. So I really love having it because it's simple, right? You guys keep it simple.
Yeah.
We kind of like add stuff, but you like the space just is so clean and simple. That's basically what that is.
Yeah.
But are you still working like today? Because
I just got off the phone with a client. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you do. You basically you coach people, and is it coaching or consulting?
Well, I don't consider it coaching because to me, coaching is a 1 up, 1 down.
Okay.
So I always have loved the expression that I think I first heard years and years ago in California from Dr. Mark Howard, who said, what we really do is a partnership of health. So I see myself as a facilitator of the well-being in myself and other people. And coaching always feels to me like I'm supposed to know more than other people know, and that's not how it works. We all have the same access to wisdom. So, but it is, by any other name. I do work with individuals. I call myself a mental health mentor. And I do a lot of webinars, and I also am now pretty dedicated to teaching other people to do what I do. So a lot of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really love that. I mean, for me, what I do, I work with companies. I work with solopreneurs, and I help people set up their business the way that they want to set up their business.
Yeah.
Right. And my access is through the 3 principles, it's kind of like, okay, so what do you want to do? And then we go through the whole process, it's kind of like, okay, let's get clear about what you want to do. Because a lot of people, they want to do something, but then they have all the thinking around how it should be done, why it should be done, why it shouldn't be done. Like they have all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's very true.
I just love having the conversations and just getting them started, because my experience is once they just get into the movement, like get moving, new stuff occurs.
Right. You don't know what you're going to do till it's right in front of you. Actually, that's one of the things that it's so funny that you said that, because when I first got involved in the principles, I had been at several careers, but my career at that time was that I was the CEO of a medical practice management business. And I would help new doctors that came into town set up their practices, or mergers, physicians merging, or physicians entering or leaving a healthcare system and that kind of thing, and their daily operations and hiring staff. So I was kind of like you. I would try to get them to tell me what kind of practice they wanted. And half the time they would go like, well, aren't you supposed to know that? And I'm going to say, well, I can't tell you how to live your life. This before I knew anything about the principles. I would say, you've got to tell me how you want to live your life as a doctor, and then I'll help you to find a way to do that. And they were always so shocked. It's like, oh, I thought I would just go to you and you would say, well, you should open an office here and these are your people. And that doesn't work out. You can't enforce other people's lives. But it's a wonderful thing when you see your clients, kind of wake up to their own ideas and get excited about it.
Yeah, that is I call that getting inspired. I said, I love it when I said, because I have this thing that's called get COGI with it. So I got to get clear, get organized, get going, and then they'll get inspired. And I know inevitably they get inspired. And sometimes they just jump from get clear to get inspired. As soon as clarity hits, everything in between just
takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm totally confident about. And when I talk, what I also love to do is like when I talk to clients is like, you need nothing of this. You don't need me. You actually don't need anything. Yeah. I can assist you. Mm-hmm. And I can guide you and tell you what about this, what about that, what about this. But that's it. You don't need me.
Interestingly, Jasmine, one of the first big insights that I had when I got involved with the principles in the beginning, I reinvented consulting in my business, because I had come up through life always believing that you were selling your knowledge. Like a consultant was a person who knew a lot of stuff and could translate and transfer that stuff to clients. Yeah. And I used to have this very strange experience, and it was disturbing to me. We always started our interactions with clients with what I called a practice evaluation. And that would mean we would go into either their plan for their practice, or if they had an existing practice, look at the existing practice and look at what was working, what wasn't working, how it would likely play out, and all the implications of, the unintended consequences of things that they were looking to do, and so on. And we would write these very cogent reports for them, which were well done, with charts and graphs and everything else like consultants do. And we would have a meeting with them, and we would present our report, and they always, always, always loved it. They would say, "Oh, this is great. This is so helpful." And then they had a choice. They could either take the report and carry it on their own, or they could hire us. So I would say it was probably 60-40. 60% would hire us, and 40% would say, "Oh, we can do it now." So when the ones that did that, I would always call them in a month or 2 months and say, "Well, how's it going?" Just checking in, to see if there's any questions or anything we can help you with. And they would say, "Well, we were very excited about it. We've been so busy. We really haven't had a chance to get started. And, we haven't done anything yet. And, but, we still have the report, and we're very appreciative, and they always paid us. They always thought it was great." And so I was thinking, like, why didn't they do it? The night that we presented that report, they were all into it, and we're going to get on this right away. And then they just didn't do it. Well, after I got involved in the principles, I realized it's because it was my ideas, not their ideas, or our ideas, if it was my whole group of working together. And I thought, no wonder they can't do it, because they didn't think of it. And you can't do somebody else's inspiration. You got to do your own inspiration. Yeah. So I chucked that whole system, and my staff was terrified. I came in and I said, "Okay, we're going to do everything entirely different." We used to have long involved meetings with our existing clients and present them a lot of detailed information about their practice. And I think that was insecurity on our part, because the reason they hired us is they didn't want to deal with all that stuff. And so we went down to a single page with just the financial highlights. And if they had questions, they knew we had the big, pile of papers if they needed it, but nobody ever asked about it. They would look at the highlights, and they would be completely satisfied, or they might have a couple of questions. And then instead of talking about what we thought they should do, the rest of the meeting was about, what would you like to do? How can we help you to do your dream, whatever it might be? And especially for our groups, often that was the only time these doctors really had a chance to sit around together and think about it, reflect on it, imagine it. And they would come up with ideas. And actually it enhanced our business, because they always wanted to do bigger things than we would have made up for them, because they knew what they were doing. It was their business. Yeah. So they might say, we want to look for a piece of property. We want to build a big diagnostic center. Well, I would never suggest that to someone, because that's a huge investment. And, but if they came up with it, they would be unafraid, and they would say, so can you help us do that? And of course we could. And so it kind of switched the whole relationship to instead of us being the smart people with the ideas, we were the facilitators of their imagination. And it was a much happier, it's more like you, it was a much happier experience. But that just came to me one Saturday morning while I was drinking my coffee. I thought, I got consulting completely backwards. And that's why these people, unless they hire us and just go along with it, that's why they don't do what they thought they wanted to do that night we had the meeting.
Yeah. I think it was also innocently, you had it all backward because innocently, that's how consultant worked.
Right, exactly. That was the whole. As a matter of fact, all my friends who were consultants thought I was crazy until they saw that I was successful. So,
yeah. And I remember, I know, because I used to work as I would help. I would consult with a consultant. So I would kind of be like his person, that. So he'd bring me in the clients and we'd get the gig. And then by the time I was finished with it, like so many things had opened up because they'd be like, well, I would love to do this. Okay, well, I can do that for you. Well, what do you want? Just hold on, let's do it, and it'd be like, and it was like done like this. Sometimes people think that what they want to do is just too hard. Yeah. Right. So they don't even look past it. Yeah. I don't look at that. Somebody says, I want to do this. I kind of go, okay, let's go. I can do it.
We can see how to do that. Right.
Yeah. So it's, and the more that I worked in, I got certified with Michael. I studied with Michael a lot. And then ever since then, I got opened up to everybody else in the community. But what I'm seeing more and more is that when I come from my heart and I just listen, then look for what's there and see what's possible. And today my business, when I told you that I had set up my desk, I have a new desk. To all my listeners, I have a new desk. I'm so excited. It's a standing desk. So because I've been so busy that I was constantly sitting down, right? And my body was like, body's not liking that part. So now I have a standing desk. That's great. Now I can stand up during the day and still continue to work. And that's kind of like what I wanted, It's like my goal was like, okay, well, I want to work.
But I need to get up sometimes. Yeah.
But I need to get up sometimes. Yeah. What's the alternative? And then I saw the possibility instead of not seeing the possibility.
Right. Right.
So I think it's interesting that that was one of your first insight. What was another insight? I would love to hear another insight. What was one of your first insights? My first personal insight was I had been to as I think I mentioned to you, my first introduction of the principles was with Dr. Bill Pettit, who was a practicing psychiatrist in the town where my business was, and he was new. And he was looking for somebody to manage the business end of his practice because he was so busy. So he became a client. And then as soon as he became a client, of course, I realized that what he was doing was really different from the other psychiatrists I knew. And like, for example, I would go by his office, like to drop off some paperwork or something, and I'd hear laughter coming from like the waiting room and the group room or his office. And I go like, people don't laugh in the psychiatrist's office. They usually come out crying, And I was very curious and interested in what he was doing. And that's how I got involved in this work. But when I first saw it, I didn't see it as something I would do separate from, I thought I would continue to do my business and just come from a different place. And I ended up I ended up doing something much more daring than that. But I was driving home. I'd been to a group that Bill did, just listening to him talk. And I was driving home and I was listening to NPR, which I always did on my way home. And they had a report about long distance truck drivers and the fact that the Interstate Commerce Commission had just enacted a new rule
that required long distance truck drivers to stop after 8 hours. And they had to rest for X number of hours, and they had to log all of that in. And that rule went into place because there were so many accidents caused by drivers of these big rigs, falling asleep at the wheel. And they realized people weren't getting enough rest. So I'm driving home listening to this thing, and all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, I don't sleep more than 2 or 3 hours a night. And then I thought, because I was so busy, and I thought, here I am, I'm running a business, I'm a banker's wife, I'm doing all the social things affiliated with that, I'm managing my house, I'm raising a preteen daughter, and I wouldn't even qualify to drive furniture across country. And I was like, who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? You are definitely sleep deprived. And I didn't, now it's not like nobody ever told me I should get more rest, but I didn't pay attention to them because I was busy. But when I had that idea, I realized I am sleep deprived. And then I thought to myself, why am I sitting up at 2 o'clock in the morning ironing? I mean, I could take stuff to the cleaners. I've got a job, It's like, I just re-examined my whole life because I was trying to be all things to all people and live up to this unreasonable expectation of what I could do, because back then that was the days when women were supposed to do everything, Yeah. But so that night I went to bed early. And I slept for like 7 or 8 hours. And I woke up the next morning. I felt like a different person. I couldn't even remember feeling that good. And that my life changed completely with that one insight, just driving home thinking you're not even qualified to drive furniture across country and you're trying to run a business, etc. So that was a big insight. And then the other insight I had that was funny is that I was pulling out. We lived in Florida at the time, and we lived in a pretty street, and everybody had gardens, and it was very tropical. And I was pulling out of my driveway one morning, and I noticed, gosh, people have the most beautiful flowers, and they're so colorful. Their yards are. I wasn't looking behind me at my own. I'm looking at everybody else's on my way through the neighborhood to go to work. And I noticed that all these doors were painted really pretty colors. And at that time, that was back in the days we had car phones. And I called my husband, who was at work already. And I said, I think that people have been on a big improvement project in our neighborhood, and we kind of missed out on it. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, everybody's doors painted a really pretty color, and there's all these gorgeous flowers, and it's so pretty. And he said, well, our door is blue, Judy. We just painted it. And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. And he said, and we have a garden. We have all kinds of pretty flowers. And honestly, I realized at that moment that I had been so busy-minded and I'd get in the car and drive around, and all I was thinking about is my work or some problem. And I was seeing the world in black and white and didn't know it. And I just, after I started getting more rest, and then I woke up that morning and I just saw color. And I thought everybody had hired somebody. We didn't. We somehow missed the message, And basically, I had been living in this beautiful neighborhood and never appreciated it. And that was amazing. I mean, my husband was laughing at me. He said, well, I can't believe you missed it, but okay, Yeah. So that was. It's funny how insights are. I mean, sometimes they're profound and deep and really meaningful, and sometimes it's just, a realization of something almost funny.
Yeah, and it's also like you said a little earlier. You said it's not like I didn't know.
Right.
I wasn't sleeping.
Right. I just didn't think I could. I thought I was too busy.
Yeah. Because like something happened to me just the other day, actually, just a few weeks ago. And so I've been in the conversation of the three principles for a while. I mean, since 2013, I've been, studying and exploring, and now I'm like more and more active, and I have the Flow of Life community. I've got the podcast, like I've got some understanding,
Yeah.
But there's this thing with me, which is my body. I've had this conversation about my body all my life. I mean, people started telling me I was fat when I was 6. So, I mean, hey, I'm fat,
Yeah.
But the things that I didn't realize was that it was all coming from me. Like, yeah, it did come out. But all the thinking was coming from me. And so, and I was very angry. I never realized how the anger was actually just thought that I had. Like, it never crossed my mind that it wasn't true that I'm fat forever. It wasn't true. And, I use the word fat and might offend people. Let's just say I'm overweight,
well, it doesn't offend you. I mean, people are different. Everybody's different.
Yeah. But it was kind of like I had these thoughts, like, I don't cook, right? I just don't cook. I'm single. I live alone. I order out. I eat at the restaurant. And just like now I'm telling you, and I'm like, it's so ridiculous because I cook all the time. But if you would have asked me, I would have said, no, I don't cook. And I tell my friends, and I told them, I don't cook. And they're like, can I show you the picture of all the food that you send me every time you cook? You send me a picture. And I'm like, So it was just very funny. And it's kind of like, and sometimes it's things that people have told you that people have told me, yeah, Jasmine, you can cook. I'd be like, no, I don't cook. Like I'd have my dukes up and I'd be like, don't you. Like I was always on the defensive.
Yeah.
And this girl just told me, I was talking to her and I was like, I like to just yap. I don't know if you noticed.
I do. I like it too.
I like to talk and I like to just say things. And what I like also is that I hear what's coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because I didn't always, that's one of the things that I didn't always hear the words coming out of my mouth. And so I'm talking to this girl and I'm listening to what I'm saying, but I'm so confident. I'm so confident that this is the truth. The truth.
Of course. Yeah.
And then she says to me, Jasmine, I can hear the anger. That's not you. And it was a mind blown, Judith. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm not anger. I'm love.
Yeah.
I love. That anger is not me. It's just thinking
angry thoughts. Yeah.
And I mean, since then, I've been cooking.
And admitting it.
Yeah. I've been standing. I've been standing up. I've been going on walks with my dog. I've been pushing myself more because the thinking was, okay, well, I'm overweight, so it's normal that I have a hard time breathing.
Yeah.
It's just normal. It's because I'm overweight. No, it's like work it, Jazz. Just but as soon as I would hit a little bit of I gotta go rest. Now it's kind of like, no, you know what?
Pause, take a deep breath. Right.
Push it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see where it's gonna go. But it's interesting to see how sometimes like you hear it intellectually, you understand anything, but until you've actually seen it inside you.
Yeah.
There's no change possible.
Right.
I used to call it once you own it. Like once you actually take it for yourself and you go, oh man.
Yeah, that's right. That's what an insight is. It's you owning the thoughts that you have and seeing beyond them. Yeah. It's funny because I used to listen to doctors about my own health, but I came kind of up against it first when I was at this time that I was running this business before I met Dr. Pettit. I was so stressed out and I kept thinking, I got to get out of this business. This business is killing me. It really was complicated and there were a lot of people and had a lot of clients and it was a lot to do. There's a lot of thinking. And prior to that, I'd been a newspaper reporter. It was a whole different thing. At the end of the day, you wrote your story and went home and you were done, until tomorrow. But I never got it off my mind once I started this business. And so I went to see my physician, and my family physician said, Judy, you are way too stressed and your blood pressure is way too high for somebody your age. And he said, you're not going to live long if you keep on like this. And he wanted to give me, at that time, the drug of choice for people under stress was Valium. He wanted to give me Valium. And I said, I'm not taking Valium. I need to have my head clear. I work hard and I said, the work that I do, I've got to be able to think, and I can't be in a fog. And most of the people I knew that took Valium were in sort of a fog, And I said, I'm not going to take it. And he said, well, I don't know. I have nothing else to offer you. So you either get a handle on the stress or just, you won't live long. And so I then met Dr. Pettit. And of course, as I learned the principles and got more involved and met Sid and met other people, and my whole life started to change dramatically. My whole outlook started to change dramatically. And I started to understand that the same mind that was creating all this stress and distress could create anything. It's like, if I can make that up, I could make up I'm okay, So what happened is my blood pressure went down, and all these little things that I was having trouble with sort of went away. And so 6 or 8 months later, I went back to my family physician for a regular checkup, and he said, what are you taking? What did you start taking a drug? Did you get something from somebody else? And I said, no, I'm not taking anything. And he said, well, your blood pressure is normal and you look good and you're not stressed anymore. So what have you done? And I said, I just learned about what stress is and where it comes from, and that I was doing it to myself, and I quit doing it. And he said, I don't think that's possible. And I said, you just told me I'm fine. Yeah. And now you're telling me it's not possible. And he said, no, come on. What are you doing different? And I said, just thinking differently and seeing life differently and being at peace and, things like that. And he still couldn't believe it. Yeah. And so he said, well, I don't know. He said, I don't understand what you're telling me, but if it's whatever's going on, just keep doing that because you're fine. And so I've always thought about that, because I thought, why did I always listen to these doctors like they knew everything, because you have wisdom inside of yourself. So, fast forward a number of years, because that was probably almost 40 years ago. A few years ago, I had a shoulder replacement, and my shoulder was really very arthritic, and it was really in bad shape. And the doctor told me I could lift my arm about to just above my chest, and that's it. And as soon as I got that high, it would start to tremble, and I'd have all this pain, and I couldn't go any higher. So it was virtually, I was one-handed for several years. And so when I went to see the doctor finally, and he told me about doing the shoulder replacement, he said, well, your shoulder is so deteriorated, I've got to do this different surgery. And the most you can expect probably is to be able to reach the back of your head, but at least you'll be able to brush your hair and, brush your teeth and, do more and, maybe lift things a little higher, and you won't have pain. And I said, well, that's good enough for me. So that's fine. I'll do that. So I get out of the surgery and, I go to physical therapy, and sure enough, I could get to the back of my head. So then I started going to a gym and working out when the physical therapy ran out. I joined a gym and was going to go work with a trainer. So look at this. Now, I just raised my hand straight. For those of you who don't see this, I've been raising my hand straight up in the air, and it goes just like the other one. Yeah. And all the way as far as I can reach. And I said to my trainer, I said, it's funny because the doctor told me that was not possible. And he said, well, in his mind, it wasn't. But he said, I'm a physical trainer, and I can tell you that you have a muscle there, and it will learn. And I thought, how could I have missed that for so many years? I was always accepting the limitations other people suggested. Like somebody told me one time, you'll never water ski, you're too clumsy. So I never water skied. Well, I thought I'm not, plenty of clumsy people water ski. I mean, what was that to do with it?
Yeah.
But I believed it. And I think that is the kind of the subtlety of our thinking, is that we've taken on things that other people have said to us, either because they're an authority figure or they frightened us, or, for whatever reason, and we hurt our feelings and we took it to heart. And then we lose sight of what we can do for ourselves. There is no limitation but thought, because, even with pain, I just had a conversation with another client about pain. I used to work in a pain clinic at the medical school where I was on the faculty, and I did groups in this pain clinic, and they were all people with chronic pain that was never going to be, like fibromyalgia or accident injuries, things that had happened to them where they had pain, expected to have pain for the rest of their life. And at first I was really intimidated by that, because I thought, how do you not hurt people's feelings if they have pain by trying to get them to get it off their mind? Because they're really suffering and it's not going to change. Then I thought, where did I get that idea? Well, I got that idea from the doctors that didn't want me to do this group, because the dean of the medical school had volunteered me to do this group. And they thought, what's the point of giving these people false hope? And then I suddenly had the insight. There's another insight. I was sitting at home thinking about the group that I was going to start the following week. And I thought, it's not the pain group. It's how to live without suffering. Like, all of us have limitations. All of us have actual impediments to things that we plan or hope to do. Like some people have birth defects. Some people have crippling injuries and they really can't walk. Some people have whatever they have. And the deal in life is not to wish that you were different, but to love the way you are and make the most of it and not let it stop you from what you want to do. And so I went in and I said to the first meeting of the pain clinic group, I said, I'm not here to tell you anything untrue about your pain. I don't know. All of you are in different degrees of pain, experiencing it differently, and it could last the rest of your life or it could pass. We don't know ever. But I do know this, that pain is pain and suffering is how you think about the pain. And if you think about the pain all the time, you always suffer. And if the pain becomes like bad music on an elevator, you forget about it. And, people could relate to that. And there were so many people in that group that got to the point where they came to peace with their pain. And instead of thinking, oh, I can't do that, it's too painful, or they would think, well, I'll give it a shot, and they would get involved and engaged in life again. And then the pain would step into the background. Not that it wasn't there. I wasn't curing people, but it's within each of us to cure our own thinking about how we address situations in life.
Yeah. What I've started doing, or I've been doing for a while now, I should say, is if I hear a restriction, like if I go, when I went to see my doctor a couple of years ago, and he told me, he says, oh, by the way, your weight is it's time for you to get the gastric bypass. And I was kind of like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why are you suggesting that to me? What, I was kind of like, I don't really want to talk to you no more, you're like, done that's with that. Giving me an icky feeling, like it was just giving me, and somebody might say, oh, okay. And it might have a good feeling, but I personally had an icky feeling. And I've been since then, I found a clinic near where I live, and it's called Clinic Inspiration. They're wonderful. And I thought, okay, I got to go there. I want to go see what that was about. Look, they could have just had the name, but really, I love them because I had a shoulder problem. That's why my old desk is changed, because the way that I'm sitting, and I have a dog that you haven't seen because I stopped taking her in my arms, but I would have her in my arms and I would work. I just love having her.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I have a cat and I get it.
Yeah. but my shoulder got frozen. Like I could do this with my shoulder.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Here I am. Right.
Yeah.
And I also thought that if it hurts, don't touch it. That's what I thought in my body. That's how it's like, okay, it hurts here. Don't touch there. Just don't touch it. And when I go see them, they'd be like touching. When I'd say, ow, they'd go, oh, great. I have the right spot.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know? And I'd be like, yeah, but it hurts. He says, yeah, it hurts. It's not supposed to hurt. And I was like, what do you mean it's not supposed to hurt? He says, it's not supposed to hurt. If you didn't have a tension, it wouldn't hurt. And now I have my trusty massage gun. And now when I now I feel hurt, I'm going to push on this a little later and I know I'm going to release it.
Yeah.
But now I've learned that if it hurts, it's not supposed to hurt. So you got to release. There's something that's not working well, but I would never seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, and when I go there also, I exercise and I don't have flexibility. I'm having a hard time moving myself. Like, when she tells me to go on the ground, I really, really don't like it. Cause it's like, I have to get up after.
Right. I totally get that.
Yeah. So, but now I get down and then I get up, and because I understand the 3 principles, I know that it's thought, and I'm like, oh man, my thinking is freaking out right now. And I'm like, and then I tell the girl and I'm like, my thinking is saying, this will never get better. And she's like, no. Yeah. Stop it. And I'm just like, okay. So like, there's like these people that just know what they're talking about and you can feel it. Right. And I'm just like, I actually see hope. Yeah. Like I see hope right now. And I'm like, and I think of my shoulder. Because I went to see them, and when this was happening, I was like, oh my God, I'm 52 and my shoulder is bummed. Yeah. Like the thinking is, oh, that's it, I'm done. Yeah. But yeah, it could have been done. Mm-hmm. I could have.
A lot of people are, Jasmine. That's the sad truth in life, is there's so many people. This past week, I was asked, my trainer that I work with at the gym, is setting up a program at a rec center, which is in a residential area that has a lot of older people that live there. It's a very pretty area. It's kind of woodsy and it's rural and it's pretty. And they have this big rec center and they have a lot of programs for people, but they want to focus more on the older community as well. So they asked my trainer who works there and designs programs for them, asked me if I would make a video with him about you're never too old to get better, because I am 79. So, I'm hoping to be better on my 80th birthday than I was on my 70th, is my goal. And so far it's working out. So, I went out there to do the video, and the director of the program was sitting in just, kind of monitoring how things were going. There's a cameraman and me and the trainer and then the director. And the director I immediately made the link between thinking you can't do things and actually not being able to do them. That there's a gap between, some people think they can do things they can't, like jump out a window and fly, and that's crazy. But also some people think they can't do things that they could do if they could calm down, de-stress, think in a different way about it, or take it slow, take small steps, find somebody that really knows how to lead them through. And so I'm talking about all this, and the director is looking kind of disturbed. And he said to me afterwards, we don't have a mental component in our programs. And I said, well, you should, especially if you're working with people that are older, that sometimes stress, grief, loss, loneliness, sadness, fear, a lot of the things that afflict older people, especially when they're suddenly on their own or their lives change dramatically, which they do, they got to realize that that's not just a mental thing. It's a mind-body thing. Mm-hmm. So you start thinking of yourself, you start thinking of the end instead of just living your life day to day and taking every living day as a wonderful day. And so he looks at me and he says, we should probably get you to do a program for us. And I thought that was very sweet. And I said, I'd be happy to, but that's the missing piece, is people do not realize the power of thought, that our thinking does indeed doesn't create the living room, but it creates how we feel about the living room, what we see in the living room, what we like about the living room. So we always tell people your thinking creates your reality, and they take it literally and they go like, no, the table's been here all along and I just entered. That's true, but you see that table through your eyes. And somebody else looking at the same table would have a whole different thought about it. And I used to, in groups, when I did groups for teenagers, and they would argue about, the reality versus, what's reality. And I said, okay, fine. I'm going to ask everybody in the room now to do a shared experiment. And so I just close your eyes and think about a dog. Everybody knows what a dog is, right? Oh, yeah, we all know what a dog is. Okay, great. Close your eyes and think about a dog. And then I would ask the people in a classroom, I'd ask them each to describe their dog. Well, nobody thought about the same dog. But yeah, they all know how to think about a dog.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is we have to realize that we are living in our own way of thinking about our reality and assuming that that's the only reality. And it isn't. It's just the thought we have about it right now, and we could change our minds. And we could see it differently, or we could not see it at all. We could see, I'm going to ignore that thing. I can't deal with it. It's not my thing. And I think that's, when you talk about weight loss, I know a lot of people are so consumed thinking about what weight they are that that's all they think about. And it makes it very hard to have any kind of change, because it's like when you think about dieting all the time, you're thinking about food.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously when you're thinking about food all the time, you're hungry. You start thinking, well, I'll just take a little bite of this, or I'll finish this off and then I won't buy another one, like if you have donuts in the house or something. But if you think about life and just the life you're living and enjoying every day and enjoying the sunshine, enjoying breathing the air, enjoying your dog, enjoying your life, and you just eat to nurture yourself when you need to, it's a natural thing to eat healthier. Because the thing that keeps, I've been this route, and I've dieted and lost and gained and lost and gained, and my whole life it's been up and down. And I realized at some point about 8 years ago, when I had my knees replaced, when I had my first knee replacement, I decided I really needed to not be trying to carry this much weight on my knee after I got my new knee. So, and I lost weight before I had my knee replaced. And then I thought, I can't gain it. So I thought, well, I just forget about it. I'm just going to live a healthy life. But now I've got a better knee, so I can move more. So it should work out great. And then I just got it off my mind. And I've had no problem maintaining. I've been the same weight now for almost 10 years. And just never think about what I'm eating, because I just eat to live. Yeah. But I spend a lot of time thinking about it all the time. No, you can't have that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, don't do that. No, in the grocery store, stay away from that. And that just is a very unpleasant way to live. But again, that's the power of thought, Yeah.
Yeah, that's the power of thought. Yeah. Definitely. And it's kind of like, like I told you, the podcast is Live the Life You Want, right?
Yeah.
So there's one thing that I did notice is that it's the want that I'm talking about has to come from your heart, not from on top of thinking,
Right.
And,
exactly.
And I think that's what I personally did. And it was innocent. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to do it. And everybody told me and I was stubborn, whatever. It was like, I was, let's say I was doing what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Right. But it was on top of anger, on top of, I'm going to show you, like it was on top of that crap. So what did it give me? It gave me crap. Now I think that it's really more of now it's, I'm reaching the love, I'm reaching the love. And that's why I feel it more hopeful in this moment. And I'm hearing different things also, like, like, because you're coming from a different place, you hear things differently.
Oh, totally. Yeah, when your level of consciousness goes up, you live in a different world. It's the same world, but it looks different to you.
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful because our natural self, our true self is love.
Yeah.
Love is the engine behind all of life. And, one of the things is, in almost every religion that I know of, I'm not sure I know of every single one of them, but every religion that I know of in the world, has a central point. God is love. So whether you're religious or not, the point is that people intuitively know that love is at the core of the energy of life. That's it. And it starts with you being able to love just being alive in who you are. Just accept it. Whoever we are what we are. We are the age we are the size we are. We have the color hair we have. And there's some things we can fool around with and change, and some things we can't, and we just enjoy our life because the package isn't the point. The heart is the point.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end that. The package is not the point. The heart is.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow. Well, this was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jasmine. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm very glad to get to know you. So I hope our paths will cross again, and I'm very excited for you that you have this wonderful business going. That's fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody listened to you and we're like, oh, I gotta talk to Judith. How do they do it?
The easiest way to do it is there's a contact me page on my website, which is very easy to remember. It's www.the3 dash principles, no space, 3-principles, principles.com. So if you go to www.3principles.com, you can find out a lot of stuff that I do, and a contact me page, and you can just do it, and I'll get an email, and I'll respond.
Yeah, and you guys, I did before we came on this call. I did Judith Sedgeman, and there you go, bang! You found her. You can find her right there. But
you can Google me. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, the Google thing can get you straight to her.
Yeah, it's funny. You can Google anybody, though. It's not that special.
I know. No, but
I thought it was really cool one time when somebody said, "Oh, I looked you up on Google and I found you," and I thought, "Ooh!" And then I realized I could look up, Mickey Mouse or Joe Blow, and they're all on Google.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very, very much again.
You're welcome
for the conversation, and I hope that everybody, you guys heard something, because this was we were in a nice space here. We're floating in love. And I'm going to tell everybody to dream it, dare it, do it, live the life they want. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.